Nobody expected silence to be this loud. Right after the Indiana Fever's brutal playoff exit, Caitlin Clark did something that shook the basketball world more than any Logo 3. She disappeared. No post-game rants. No emotional captions. No hints about what was next. Just nothing. And that's when the internet did what it always does. Rumors started flying that the WNBA's biggest star was already done. People were convinced she was about to walk away from the league that she had just turned upside down. Thumbnail after thumbnail claimed the same thing. Caitlin Clark was leaving for Europe. A bigger contract. Softer schedule. Star treatment. One decision that could flip the balance of power in women's basketball. It sounded insane. But it also sounded believable. Because this wasn't just any rookie. This was the player who broke records at Iowa like it was a video game. The player who turned sold-out arenas, TV ratings, and merch sales into her normal Tuesday night. The WNBA had never seen anything like her, and neither had the business side of the sport. So when days went by and Caitlin remained completely quiet on social media, people started asking the same question. Did she really just choose Europe over the WNBA? And then, out of nowhere, she finally posted an emotional reflection on her first season. A message to the fans who followed her from college to the pros. A few simple lines that were supposed to bring closure, but instead sent everyone into an even bigger frenzy. Because hidden inside that post was the answer nobody could agree on. Was this the beginning of her WNBA era, or the start of her life after it? Before the rumors, before the headlines, before the silence that shook the WNBA, there was Caitlin Clark rewriting the rules of college basketball. What she did at Iowa wasn't normal. It wasn't even close. Night after night, she played like someone who already knew she'd outgrow the college game, draining Logo 3s, dropping insane assist numbers, and turning every arena she stepped into a sold-out event. By the time her senior season wrapped, she had shattered the all-time NCAA scoring record, men's and women's, something people thought would stand forever. And it didn't just make noise, it set the sports world on fire. Every major outlet, every highlight reel, every timeline had one name dominating the conversation. So when draft night came, there was zero suspense. Caitlin Clark was always going number one. Indiana didn't just draft a player, they drafted hope. They drafted relevance. They drafted someone who could pull a franchise out of the shadows and drag it straight into the national spotlight. And that's exactly what she did. The moment she put on that Fever jersey, everything changed. Games that used to echo with empty seats suddenly turned into packed, screaming arenas. Road games became home games, because everywhere she went, fans followed. TV networks shifted schedules just to get her on screen. The WNBA had never seen a rookie transform the league this fast. And honestly, neither had any other sport. But for all the hype and all the history she brought with her, there was one thing that didn't match the moment. And everyone noticed. For a player who transformed an entire league overnight, you'd expect a contract that matched the impact. But Caitlin Clark's rookie deal didn't just fall short, it sparked a debate bigger than basketball itself. She was the face of every highlight reel. The reason arenas were sold out. The reason TV ratings shot up like never before. And yet, on paper, she was making the same rookie salary as every other first-year player. Around 70-something thousand. The number went viral instantly, and fans didn't hold back. They called it embarrassing, outdated, an insult to someone carrying the league on her back. Meanwhile, brands knew exactly what she was worth. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, all lining up with deals that blew her WNBA salary out of the water. Suddenly, it became clear. The WNBA needed her a lot more than she needed the WNBA. And that's where Europe entered the picture. Women's basketball overseas has a long history of paying huge money to top players. More flexible schedules, star perks, bigger checks. For years, WNBA players have gone abroad to get paid what they can't earn at home. So when whispers started that European clubs were preparing massive offers for Caitlin, nobody was shocked. In fact, some people were convinced that it was only a matter of time. That combination, low WNBA pay, enormous global demand, and Caitlin's explosive popularity, created the perfect storm. A storm intense enough to make even the most loyal fans hesitate for a moment and wonder, would she really walk away from the league she just revived? Once the conversation about her paycheck exploded, it didn't take long for one rumor to take over everything. The idea that Caitlin Clark was already preparing to leave the WNBA for Europe. It started as a whisper in comment sections, the kind nobody takes seriously. But within days, it turned into a full-blown storyline plastered across thumbnails and headlines everywhere. And honestly, people believed it. Not because they wanted her gone, but because the pieces lined up a little too well. Everyone already knew European teams pay their stars big money. Everyone knew the WNBA schedule is brutal, and the physical play she faced all season had fans questioning whether the league was protecting its biggest draw. Add in the silence from Caitlin after the Fever's playoff exit, and suddenly the rumor didn't feel like a stretch. It felt like a real possibility. The scariest part for fans was that the timing made sense. She had nothing left to prove as a rookie. She had the endorsements. She had the influence. She had global attention. If someone like her took a massive overseas offer, nobody could blame her. In fact, plenty of players before her had done the exact same thing for far less money. But here's what fueled the speculation even more. Every time someone tried to shut the rumor down, it seemed to spread faster. People were convinced that the silence meant something. That behind the scenes, negotiations were happening. And that Caitlin Clark, the most important WNBA player in years, might actually be preparing for a move nobody wanted to see. By the time the dust settled, the rumor wasn't just a rumor anymore. It was a full-blown storyline, and people were bracing for the worst. After days of chaos, theories, and non-stop speculation, Caitlin Clark finally reappeared, not with an interview, not with a press conference, but with a single Instagram post. And somehow, that one post created even more conversation than the silence that came before it. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't even long. It was reflective. She looked back on her rookie year, the pressure, the expectations, the unbelievable highs and the brutal lows. She thanked her teammates, the fans who showed up for her everywhere she went, and the entire Indiana Fever organization. It read like someone who had been carrying the weight of an entire league and finally took a second to breathe. But the part that set everyone off was a simple message about what's next. She didn't say she was leaving. She didn't hint at Europe. Instead, she made it clear she wasn't done. It wasn't phrased like a big announcement, but it didn't have to be. Anyone paying attention understood exactly what she was saying. She was coming back for year two. Not running from it. Not walking away. Not chasing the overseas money everyone thought she'd jump at. And just like that, the loudest rumor in women's basketball collapsed in real time. But even with the truth finally out there, something interesting happened. The conversation around Caitlin didn't calm down. If anything, her message sparked a new question. If she's staying, what does that mean for the Indiana Fever? Caitlin Clark didn't just join the Indiana Fever, she transformed them. Before she arrived, the franchise had spent years buried at the bottom of the standings, fighting for relevance and struggling to fill seats. The atmosphere was quiet, the expectations were low, and the future felt like a distant dream. Then she showed up. Her impact wasn't gradual. It was instant. Suddenly, games that once slipped under the radar became must-watch events. Home games started selling out. Road arenas filled with fans wearing her jersey instead of the opposing team's colors. Broadcasters shifted schedules just to make sure the Fever were televised. It wasn't hype, it was history. And the numbers backed it all up. Her scoring, her vision, her playmaking, everything she did created opportunities her teammates had never had before. The Fever played faster, more confidently, and with a new identity built around someone who could see the floor 2 steps ahead. By the end of the season, the transformation was obvious. The Fever were no longer a rebuilding team, they were a problem. They snagged their first 20-win season in years, pushed their way back into playoff contention, and reignited a fan base that hadn't had hope in a long time. For the first time in nearly a decade, Indiana basketball felt alive again. And everyone knew exactly why. Even after Caitlin made it clear she was staying with the Fever, the Europe storyline didn't disappear. It didn't fade. If anything, It stuck around like an echo, quieter, but still there. And there's a reason for that. The reality is simple. The WNBA can't offer her anything close to what she could make overseas. Europe has the money, the flexibility, the perks, and a long history of attracting elite women's players who want to be paid their real value. That fact alone keeps the speculation alive. There's also the bigger picture. Caitlin isn't just another player. She's the economic engine of the league. She boosted TV ratings, ticket sales, merch numbers, everything. And because of that, any future decision she makes instantly becomes a national headline. If she even hinted at exploring options overseas 2 years from now, the internet would explode all over again. But there's another side to it too. Some fans genuinely believe she won't leave, not because of loyalty, but because she wants to help reshape the league from the inside out. If anyone can push the WNBA toward bigger salaries, better conditions, and a stronger future, it's the rookie who just changed everything in one season. So the rumors don't die because people think she's leaving. They linger because people know she could. And that possibility alone forces the league to stay awake. In the end, all the rumors, the silence, the speculation, it all came down to one thing. Caitlin Clark changed the game so fast that people truly believed she might outgrow the league after one season. That's how big her impact was. That's how loud her presence is. And that's why every move she makes becomes a national conversation. But instead of running from the pressure, she doubled down on Indiana. She chose to stay in the league she helped revive, with a fan base she connected with instantly, on a team that finally feels alive again. And now, heading into year 2, the expectations aren't just high, they're sky high. Not just for her, but for the entire Fever franchise. Whether she shapes the future of the WNBA, forces the league to evolve, or simply keeps doing what she does best, breaking records and making people watch, one thing is clear: Caitlin Clark isn't finished. Not even close. And honestly, watching what happens next might be the best part. If you've been following her journey with the same curiosity and excitement as the rest of us, stick around. We dive into everything happening around the WNBA, the Fever, and the stories people are too scared to touch. No pressure, no sales pitch. Just come along if you're enjoying the ride.